A reliable supply chain has always been critical, but during these times, it's more important than ever. As they do every year, our nation's growers are moving forward with planting. Farming families, soy and grain handlers and exporters, food processors and manufacturers, and the entire value chain across the United States are working to ensure a safe and dependable supply of food for communities around the world. And we will do our part. Our worldwide team continues to work diligently as they respond and adapt to this situation. We're interacting with partners and other industry professionals all over the world to ensure that those operations have access to the products and support needed. And we continue our work of connecting U.S. exporters and buyers of U.S. soy. We understand how vital it is to supply our growing world with feed, food, and resources. And we remain committed to providing the global market with a stable supply of high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy. And at USSEC, we're honored to play a role in helping to maintain industry continuity. For now and for the future, U.S. soy is open for business. A reliable supply chain.
สมาคมวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารสมาคมวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารแห่งประเทศไทยหรือ FOSTAT เป็นองค์กรไม่แสวงหากำไรที่ก่อตั้งขึ้นในปี 2519 จากการรวมกลุ่มกันของอาจารย์นักวิชาการและผู้ประกอบการที่มีความสนใจในด้านวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารซึ่งเล็งเห็นถึงความสำคัญของการพัฒนาองค์ความรู้ทางวิชาการในด้านนี้จึงได้ก่อตั้งสมาคมขึ้นโดยมีจุดประสงค์เพื่อทำหน้าที่ในการประสานความร่วมมือระหว่างภาครัฐภาคการผลิตสมาคมและสถาบันการศึกษาทั้งในและต่างประเทศส่งเสริมให้มีการแลกเปลี่ยนความรู้ข่าวสารข้อมูลทางวิชาการเพื่อให้เกิดการพัฒนาวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารของประเทศไทยตลอดจนการพัฒนาบุคลากรที่จะช่วยสนับสนุนอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนบริการต่างๆของ FOSTAT นั้นสามารถแบ่งออกเป็นด้านต่างๆได้ดังนี้บริการจัดฝึกอบรมหรือเทรนนิ่ง FOSTAT ให้บริการในด้านการฝึกอบรมในรูปแบบต่างๆเพื่อส่งเสริมและสร้างองค์ความรู้ให้กับผู้ประกอบการอาจารย์นิสิตนักศึกษาและผู้ที่สนใจโดยมีการอบรมทั้งในรูปแบบของ Public Training Roadshow Food Safety Forum FOSTAT FDA Training ที่จัดร่วมกับทาง อย.และ In-house Training หรือการจัดอบรมภายในองค์กรเพื่อตอบสนองความต้องการที่หลากหลายของผู้บริโภคบริการให้คำปรึกษาการจัดทำระบบความปลอดภัยอาหารหรือ Consultant FOSTAT มีวิทยากรผู้เชี่ยวชาญที่สามารถให้คำปรึกษาและจัดทำระบบสำหรับโรงงานอุตสาหกรรมต่างๆทั้งระบบ GMP HACCP BRC IFS FSSC 2002 ISO 2002 และอื่นๆอีกมากมายบริการรับจดขึ้นทะเบียนเลขสารระบบ อย.ทั้งในส่วนของการยื่นขอสถานที่ผลิตอาหารและขออนุญาตผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารโดยทีมที่ปรึกษาผู้เชี่ยวชาญบริการสอบขึ้นทะเบียนนักวิทยาศาสตร์ด้านอาหารสำหรับอุตสาหกรรมอาหาร Certified Food Professional หรือ CFOP เป็นการส่งเสริมการเพิ่มขีดความสามารถของบุคลากรในภาคอุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อให้กระบวนการผลิตอาหารได้รับการดูแลอย่างเหมาะสมจากนักวิทยาศาสตร์อาหารในด้านคุณภาพมาตรฐานและความปลอดภัยของอาหารเพื่อสร้างความเชื่อมั่นแก่ผู้ที่เกี่ยวข้องกิจกรรม Food Innovation and Regulation Network หรือ FIRN เป็นโครงการที่เกิดขึ้นจากความร่วมมือของ FOSTAT อย.เพื่อเป็นศูนย์การถ่ายทอดอบรมความรู้ด้านนวัตกรรมอาหารเพื่อสุขภาพการขออนุญาตกล่าวอ้างทางสุขภาพรวมถึงสื่อสารข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับหลักเกณฑ์การขออนุญาตอาหารและเป็นศูนย์กลางเครือข่ายนักวิจัยผู้เชี่ยวชาญและผู้ประกอบการผลิตภัณฑ์ Functional Food ของประเทศไทยกิจกรรมประจำปี Annual Events นอกเหนือจากการให้บริการด้านต่างๆแล้ว FOSTAT ยังมีกิจกรรมประจำปีที่ดำเนินการมาอย่างต่อเนื่องและยาวนานอันประกอบด้วย International Conference กิจกรรมการประชุมวิชาการระดับนานาชาติที่รู้จักกันในชื่อ Food Innovation Asia Conference และ Food Ingredient Asia Conference ที่มุ่งเน้นการให้นวัตกรรมความรู้แก่ผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทั้งในประเทศและต่างประเทศร่วมกับกิจกรรมการประกวดผลงานของนักศึกษาในระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร FOSTAT Nestlé Quiz Bowl กิจกรรมการแข่งขันตอบปัญหาวิชาการด้านวิทยาศาสตร์เทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร Food Innovation Contest กิจกรรมแข่งขันการคิดค้นผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารที่มีความเป็นนวัตกรรมของนักศึกษาระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหารให้มีเวทีในการแสดงออกซึ่งความรู้ความสามารถทางวิชาการเพื่อเสริมสร้างความรู้และทักษะทางวิชาการส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรให้อุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อความยั่งยืนตลอดระยะเวลากว่า 40 ปี FOSTAT เดินหน้าทำงานอย่างต่อเนื่องเพื่อพัฒนาบุคลากรตลอดจนวงการอุตสาหกรรมอาหารให้เติบโตอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนเพื่อที่จะเป็นองค์กรผู้นำในการสร้างเสริมวิชาชีพและเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อการพัฒนาอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างยั่งยืนสมาคมวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารแห่งประเทศไทยหรือ FOSTAT เป็นองค์กรไม่แสวงหากำไรที่ก่อตั้งขึ้นในปี 2519 จากการรวมกลุ่มกันของอาจารย์นักวิชาการและผู้ประกอบการที่มีความสนใจในด้านวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารซึ่งเล็งเห็นถึงความสำคัญของการพัฒนาองค์ความรู้ทางวิชาการในด้านนี้จึงได้ก่อตั้งสมาคมขึ้นโดยมีจุดประสงค์เพื่อทำหน้าที่ในการประสานความร่วมมือระหว่างภาครัฐภาคการผลิตสมาคมและสถาบันการศึกษาทั้งในและต่างประเทศส่งเสริมให้มีการแลกเปลี่ยนความรู้ข่าวสารข้อมูลทางวิชาการเพื่อให้เกิดการพัฒนาวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารของประเทศไทยตลอดจนการพัฒนาบุคลากรที่จะช่วยสนับสนุนอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนบริการต่างๆของ FOSTAT นั้นสามารถแบ่งออกเป็นด้านต่างๆได้ดังนี้บริการจัดฝึกอบรมหรือเทรนนิ่ง FOSTAT ให้บริการในด้านการฝึกอบรมในรูปแบบต่างๆเพื่อส่งเสริมและสร้างองค์ความรู้ให้กับผู้ประกอบการอาจารย์นิสิตนักศึกษาและผู้ที่สนใจโดยมีการอบรมทั้งในรูปแบบของ Public Training Roadshow Food Safety Forum FOSTAT FDA Training ที่จัดร่วมกับทางอย.และ In-house Training หรือการจัดอบรมภายในองค์กรเพื่อตอบสนองความต้องการที่หลากหลายของผู้บริโภคบริการให้คำปรึกษาการจัดทำระบบความปลอดภัยอาหารหรือ Consultant FOSTAT มีวิทยากรผู้เชี่ยวชาญที่สามารถให้คำปรึกษาและจัดทำระบบสำหรับโรงงานอุตสาหกรรมต่างๆทั้งระบบ GMP HACCP BRC IFS FSSC 2002 ISO 2002 และอื่นๆอีกมากมายบริการรับจดขึ้นทะเบียนเลขสารระบบอย.ทั้งในส่วนของการยื่นขอสถานที่ผลิตอาหารและขออนุญาตผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารโดยทีมที่ปรึกษาผู้เชี่ยวชาญบริการสอบขึ้นทะเบียนนักวิทยาศาสตร์ด้านอาหารสำหรับอุตสาหกรรมอาหาร Certified Food Professional หรือ CFOP เป็นการส่งเสริมการเพิ่มขีดความสามารถของบุคลากรในภาคอุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อให้กระบวนการผลิตอาหารได้รับการดูแลอย่างเหมาะสมจากนักวิทยาศาสตร์อาหารในด้านคุณภาพมาตรฐานและความปลอดภัยของอาหารเพื่อสร้างความเชื่อมั่นแก่ผู้ที่เกี่ยวข้องกิจกรรม Food Innovation and Regulation Network หรือ FIRN เป็นโครงการที่เกิดขึ้นจากความร่วมมือของ FOSTAT อย.เพื่อเป็นศูนย์การถ่ายทอดอบรมความรู้ด้านนวัตกรรมอาหารเพื่อสุขภาพการขออนุญาตกล่าวอ้างทางสุขภาพรวมถึงสื่อสารข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับหลักเกณฑ์การขออนุญาตอาหารและเป็นศูนย์กลางเครือข่ายนักวิจัยผู้เชี่ยวชาญและผู้ประกอบการผลิตภัณฑ์ Functional Food ของประเทศไทย กิจกรรมประจำปี Annual Events นอกเหนือจากการให้บริการด้านต่างๆแล้ว FOSTAT ยังมีกิจกรรมประจำปีที่ดำเนินการมาอย่างต่อเนื่องและยาวนานอันประกอบด้วย International Conference กิจกรรมการประชุมวิชาการระดับนานาชาติที่รู้จักกันในชื่อ Food Innovation Asia Conference และ Food Ingredient Asia Conference ที่มุ่งเน้นการให้นวัตกรรมความรู้แก่ผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทั้งในประเทศและต่างประเทศร่วมกับกิจกรรมการประกวดผลงานของนักศึกษาในระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร FOSTAT Nestle Quiz Bowl กิจกรรมการแข่งขันตอบปัญหาวิชาการด้านวิทยาศาสตร์เทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร Food Innovation Contest กิจกรรมแข่งขันการคิดค้นผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารที่มีความเป็นนวัตกรรมของนักศึกษาระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหารให้มีเวทีในการแสดงออกซึ่งความรู้ความสามารถทางวิชาการเพื่อเสริมสร้างความรู้และทักษะทางวิชาการส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรให้อุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อความยั่งยืนตลอดระยะเวลากว่า 40 ปี FOSTAT เดินหน้าทำงานอย่างต่อเนื่องเพื่อพัฒนาบุคลากรตลอดจนวงการอุตสาหกรรมอาหารให้เติบโตอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนเพื่อที่จะเป็นองค์กรผู้นำในการสร้างเสริมวิชาชีพและเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อการพัฒนาอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างยั่งยืนสมาคมวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารแห่งประเทศไทยหรือ FOSTAT เป็นองค์กรไม่แสวงหากำไรที่ก่อตั้งขึ้นในปี 2519 จากการรวมกลุ่มกันของอาจารย์นักวิชาการและผู้ประกอบการที่มีความสนใจในด้านวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารซึ่งเล็งเห็นถึงความสำคัญของการพัฒนาองค์ความรู้ทางวิชาการในด้านนี้จึงได้ก่อตั้งสมาคมขึ้นโดยมีจุดประสงค์เพื่อทำหน้าที่ในการประสานความร่วมมือระหว่างภาครัฐภาคการผลิตสมาคมและสถาบันการศึกษาทั้งในและต่างประเทศส่งเสริมให้มีการแลกเปลี่ยนความรู้ข่าวสารข้อมูลทางวิชาการเพื่อให้เกิดการพัฒนาวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารของประเทศไทยตลอดจนการพัฒนาบุคลากรที่จะช่วยสนับสนุนอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนบริการต่างๆของ FOSTAT นั้นสามารถแบ่งออกเป็นด้านต่างๆได้ดังนี้บริการจัดฝึกอบรมหรือเทรนนิ่ง FOSTAT ให้บริการในด้านการฝึกอบรมในรูปแบบต่างๆเพื่อส่งเสริมและสร้างองค์ความรู้ให้กับผู้ประกอบการอาจารย์นิสิตนักศึกษาและผู้ที่สนใจโดยมีการอบรมทั้งในรูปแบบของ Public Training Roadshow Food Safety Forum FOSTAT FDA Training ที่จัดร่วมกับทางอย.และ In-house Training หรือการจัดอบรมภายในองค์กรเพื่อตอบสนองความต้องการที่หลากหลายของผู้บริโภคบริการให้คำปรึกษาการจัดทำระบบความปลอดภัยอาหารหรือ Consultant FOSTAT มีวิทยากรผู้เชี่ยวชาญที่สามารถให้คำปรึกษาและจัดทำระบบสำหรับโรงงานอุตสาหกรรมต่างๆทั้งระบบ GMP HACCP BRC IFS FSSC 2002 ISO 2002 และอื่นๆอีกมากมายบริการรับจดขึ้นทะเบียนเลขสารระบบอย.ทั้งในส่วนของการยื่นขอสถานที่ผลิตอาหารและขออนุญาตผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารโดยทีมที่ปรึกษาผู้เชี่ยวชาญบริการสอบขึ้นทะเบียนนักวิทยาศาสตร์ด้านอาหารสำหรับอุตสาหกรรมอาหาร Certified Food Professional หรือ CFOP เป็นการส่งเสริมการเพิ่มขีดความสามารถของบุคลากรในภาคอุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อให้กระบวนการผลิตอาหารได้รับการดูแลอย่างเหมาะสมจากนักวิทยาศาสตร์อาหารในด้านคุณภาพมาตรฐานและความปลอดภัยของอาหารเพื่อสร้างความเชื่อมั่นแก่ผู้ที่เกี่ยวข้องกิจกรรม Food Innovation and Regulation Network หรือ FIRN เป็นโครงการที่เกิดขึ้นจากความร่วมมือของ FOSTAT อย.เพื่อเป็นศูนย์การถ่ายทอดอบรมความรู้ด้านนวัตกรรมอาหารเพื่อสุขภาพการขออนุญาตกล่าวอ้างทางสุขภาพรวมถึงสื่อสารข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับหลักเกณฑ์การขออนุญาตอาหาร และเป็นศูนย์กลางเครือข่ายนักวิจัยผู้เชี่ยวชาญและผู้ประกอบการผลิตภัณฑ์ Functional Food ของประเทศไทยกิจกรรมประจำปี Annual Events นอกเหนือจากการให้บริการด้านต่างๆแล้ว FOSTAT ยังมีกิจกรรมประจำปีที่ดำเนินการมาอย่างต่อเนื่องและยาวนานอันประกอบด้วย International Conference กิจกรรมการประชุมวิชาการระดับนานาชาติที่รู้จักกันในชื่อ Food Innovation Asia Conference และ Food Ingredient Asia Conference ที่มุ่งเน้นการให้นวัตกรรมความรู้แก่ผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทั้งในประเทศและต่างประเทศร่วมกับกิจกรรมการประกวดผลงานของนักศึกษาในระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร FOSTAT Nestle Quiz Bowl กิจกรรมการแข่งขันตอบปัญหาวิชาการด้านวิทยาศาสตร์เทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร Food Innovation Contest กิจกรรมแข่งขันการคิดค้นผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารที่มีความเป็นนวัตกรรมของนักศึกษาระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหารให้มีเวทีในการแสดงออกซึ่งความรู้ความสามารถทางวิชาการเพื่อเสริมสร้างความรู้และทักษะทางวิชาการส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรให้อุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อความยั่งยืนตลอดระยะเวลากว่า 40 ปี FOSTAT เดินหน้าทำงานอย่างต่อเนื่องเพื่อพัฒนาบุคลากรตลอดจนวงการอุตสาหกรรมอาหารให้เติบโตอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนเพื่อที่จะเป็นองค์กรผู้นำในการสร้างเสริมวิชาชีพและเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อการพัฒนาอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างยั่งยืนสมาคมวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารแห่งประเทศไทยหรือ FOSTAT เป็นองค์กรไม่แสวงหากำไรที่ก่อตั้งขึ้นในปี 2519 จากการรวมกลุ่มกันของอาจารย์นักวิชาการและผู้ประกอบการที่มีความสนใจในด้านวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารซึ่งเล็งเห็นถึงความสำคัญของการพัฒนาองค์ความรู้ทางวิชาการในด้านนี้จึงได้ก่อตั้งสมาคมขึ้นโดยมีจุดประสงค์เพื่อทำหน้าที่ในการประสานความร่วมมือระหว่างภาครัฐภาคการผลิตสมาคมและสถาบันการศึกษาทั้งในและต่างประเทศส่งเสริมให้มีการแลกเปลี่ยนความรู้ข่าวสารข้อมูลทางวิชาการเพื่อให้เกิดการพัฒนาวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารของประเทศไทยตลอดจนการพัฒนาบุคลากรที่จะช่วยสนับสนุนอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนบริการต่างๆของ FOSTAT นั้นสามารถแบ่งออกเป็นด้านต่างๆได้ดังนี้บริการจัดฝึกอบรมหรือเทรนนิ่ง FOSTAT ให้บริการในด้านการฝึกอบรมในรูปแบบต่างๆเพื่อส่งเสริมและสร้างองค์ความรู้ให้กับผู้ประกอบการอาจารย์นิสิตนักศึกษาและผู้ที่สนใจโดยมีการอบรมทั้งในรูปแบบของ Public Training Roadshow Food Safety Forum FOSTAT FDA Training ที่จัดร่วมกับทางอย.และ In-house Training หรือการจัดอบรมภายในองค์กรเพื่อตอบสนองความต้องการที่หลากหลายของผู้บริโภคบริการให้คำปรึกษาการจัดทำระบบความปลอดภัยอาหารหรือ Consultant FOSTAT มีวิทยากรผู้เชี่ยวชาญที่สามารถให้คำปรึกษาและจัดทำระบบสำหรับโรงงานอุตสาหกรรมต่างๆทั้งระบบ GMP HACCP BRC IFS FSSC 2002 ISO 2002 และอื่นๆอีกมากมายบริการรับจดขึ้นทะเบียนเลขสารระบบอย.ทั้งในส่วนของการยื่นขอสถานที่ผลิตอาหารและขออนุญาตผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารโดยทีมที่ปรึกษาผู้เชี่ยวชาญบริการสอบขึ้นทะเบียนนักวิทยาศาสตร์ด้านอาหารสำหรับอุตสาหกรรมอาหาร Certified Food Professional หรือ CFOP เป็นการส่งเสริมการเพิ่มขีดความสามารถของบุคลากรในภาคอุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อให้กระบวนการผลิตอาหารได้รับการดูแลอย่างเหมาะสมจากนักวิทยาศาสตร์อาหารในด้านคุณภาพมาตรฐานและความปลอดภัยของอาหารเพื่อสร้างความเชื่อมั่นแก่ผู้ที่เกี่ยวข้องกิจกรรม Food Innovation and Regulation Network หรือ FIRN เป็นโครงการที่เกิดขึ้นจากความร่วมมือของ FOSTAT อย.เพื่อเป็นศูนย์การถ่ายทอดอบรมความรู้ด้านนวัตกรรมอาหารเพื่อสุขภาพการขออนุญาตกล่าวอ้างทางสุขภาพ รวมถึงสื่อสารข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับหลักเกณฑ์การขออนุญาตอาหารและเป็นศูนย์กลางเครือข่ายนักวิจัยผู้เชี่ยวชาญและผู้ประกอบการผลิตภัณฑ์ Functional Food ของประเทศไทยกิจกรรมประจำปี Annual Events นอกเหนือจากการให้บริการด้านต่างๆแล้ว FOSTAT ยังมีกิจกรรมประจำปีที่ดำเนินการมาอย่างต่อเนื่องและยาวนานอันประกอบด้วย International Conference กิจกรรมการประชุมวิชาการระดับนานาชาติที่รู้จักกันในชื่อ Food Innovation Asia Conference และ Food Ingredient Asia Conference ที่มุ่งเน้นการให้นวัตกรรมความรู้แก่ผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทั้งในประเทศและต่างประเทศร่วมกับกิจกรรมการประกวดผลงานของนักศึกษาในระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร FOSTAT Nestle Quiz Bowl กิจกรรมการแข่งขันตอบปัญหาวิชาการด้านวิทยาศาสตร์เทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร Food Innovation Contest กิจกรรมแข่งขันการคิดค้นผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารที่มีความเป็นนวัตกรรมของนักศึกษาระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหารให้มีเวทีในการแสดงออกซึ่งความรู้ความสามารถทางวิชาการเพื่อเสริมสร้างความรู้และทักษะทางวิชาการส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรให้อุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อความยั่งยืนตลอดระยะเวลากว่า 40 ปี FOSTAT เดินหน้าทำงานอย่างต่อเนื่องเพื่อพัฒนาบุคลากรตลอดจนวงการอุตสาหกรรมอาหารให้เติบโตอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนเพื่อที่จะเป็นองค์กรผู้นำในการสร้างเสริมวิชาชีพและเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อการพัฒนาอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างยั่งยืน
A reliable supply chain has always been critical, but during these times it's more important than ever. As they do every year, our nation's growers are moving forward with planting. Farming families, soy and grain handlers and exporters, food processors and manufacturers, and the entire value chain across the United States are working to ensure a safe and dependable supply of food for communities around the world. And we will do our part. Our worldwide team continues to work diligently as they respond and adapt to this situation. We're interacting with partners and other industry professionals all over the world to ensure that those operations have access to the products and support needed. And we continue our work of connecting U.S. exporters and buyers of U.S. soy. We understand how vital it is to supply our growing world with feed, food, and resources. And we remain committed to providing the global market with a stable supply of high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy. And at USEC, we're honored to play a role in helping to maintain industry continuity. For now and for the future, U.S. soy is open for business. A reliable A reliable supply chain has always been critical, but during these times it's more important than ever. As they do every year, our nation's growers are moving forward with planting, farming families, soy and grain handlers and exporters, food processors and manufacturers, and the entire value chain across the United States are working to ensure a safe and dependable supply of food for communities around the world. And we will do our part. Our worldwide team continues to work diligently as they respond and adapt to this situation. We're interacting with partners and other industry professionals all over the world to ensure that those operations have access to the products and support needed. And we continue our work of connecting U.S. exporters and buyers of U.S. soy. We understand how vital it is to supply our growing world with feed, food, and resources. And we remain committed to providing the global market with a stable supply of high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy. And at USSEC, we're honored to play a role in helping to maintain industry continuity, for now and for the future. U.S. soy is open for business. A reliable supply chain has always been critical, but during these times, it's more important than ever. As they do every year, our nation's growers are moving forward with planting, farming families, soy and grain handlers and exporters, food processors and manufacturers, and the entire value chain across the United States are working to ensure a safe and dependable supply of food for communities around the world. And we will do our part. Our worldwide team continues to work diligently as they respond and adapt to this situation. We're interacting with partners and other industry professionals all over the world to ensure that those operations have access to the products and support needed. And we continue our work of connecting U.S. exporters and buyers of U.S. soy. We understand how vital it is to supply our growing world with feed, food, and resources. And we remain committed to providing the global market with a stable supply of high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy. And at USSEC, we're honored to play a role in helping to maintain industry continuity, for now and for the future. U.S. soy is open for business. A reliable supply chain has always been critical, but during these times, it's more important than ever. As they do every year, our nation's growers are moving forward with planting, farming families, soy and grain handlers and exporters, food processors and manufacturers, and the entire value chain across the United States are working to ensure a safe and dependable supply of food for communities around the world. And we will do our part. Our worldwide team continues to work diligently as they respond and adapt to this situation. We're interacting with partners and other industry professionals all over the world to ensure that those operations have access to the products and support needed. And we continue our work of connecting U.S. exporters and buyers of U.S. soy. We understand how vital it is to supply our growing world with feed, food, and resources, and we remain committed to providing the global market with a stable supply of high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy. And at USEC, we're honored to play a role in helping to maintain industry continuity. For now and for the future, U.S. soy is open for business.
สมาคมวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารแห่งประเทศไทยหรือ FOSTAT เป็นองค์กรไม่แสวงหากำไรที่ก่อตั้งขึ้นในปี 2519 จากการรวมกลุ่มกันของอาจารย์นักวิชาการและผู้ประกอบการที่มีความสนใจในด้านวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารซึ่งเล็งเห็นถึงความสำคัญของการพัฒนาองค์ความรู้ทางวิชาการในด้านนี้จึงได้ก่อตั้งสมาคมขึ้นโดยมีจุดประสงค์เพื่อทำหน้าที่ในการประสานความร่วมมือระหว่างภาครัฐภาคการผลิตสมาคมและสถาบันการศึกษาทั้งในและต่างประเทศส่งเสริมให้มีการแลกเปลี่ยนความรู้ข่าวสารข้อมูลทางวิชาการเพื่อให้เกิดการพัฒนาวิทยาศาสตร์และเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารของประเทศไทยตลอดจนการพัฒนาบุคลากรที่จะช่วยสนับสนุนอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนบริการต่างๆของ FOSTAT นั้นสามารถแบ่งออกเป็นด้านต่างๆได้ดังนี้บริการจัดฝึกอบรมหรือเทรนนิ่ง FOSTAT ให้บริการในด้านการฝึกอบรมในรูปแบบต่างๆเพื่อส่งเสริมและสร้างองค์ความรู้ให้กับผู้ประกอบการอาจารย์นิสิตนักศึกษาและผู้ที่สนใจโดยมีการอบรมทั้งในรูปแบบของ Public Training Roadshow Food Safety Forum FOSTAT FDA Training ที่จัดร่วมกับทางอย.และ In-house Training หรือการจัดอบรมภายในองค์กรเพื่อตอบสนองความต้องการที่หลากหลายของผู้บริโภคบริการให้คำปรึกษาการจัดทำระบบความปลอดภัยอาหารหรือ Consultant FOSTAT มีวิทยากรผู้เชี่ยวชาญที่สามารถให้คำปรึกษาและจัดทำระบบสำหรับโรงงานอุตสาหกรรมต่างๆทั้งระบบ GMP HACCP BRC IFS FSSC 2002 ISO 2002 และอื่นๆอีกมากมายบริการรับจดขึ้นทะเบียนเลขสารระบบอย.ทั้งในส่วนของการยื่นขอสถานที่ผลิตอาหารและขออนุญาตผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารโดยทีมที่ปรึกษาผู้เชี่ยวชาญบริการสอบขึ้นทะเบียนนักวิทยาศาสตร์ด้านอาหารสำหรับอุตสาหกรรมอาหาร Certified Food Professional หรือ CFOP เป็นการส่งเสริมการเพิ่มขีดความสามารถของบุคลากรในภาคอุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อให้กระบวนการผลิตอาหารได้รับการดูแลอย่างเหมาะสมจากนักวิทยาศาสตร์อาหารในด้านคุณภาพมาตรฐานและความปลอดภัยของอาหารเพื่อสร้างความเชื่อมั่นแก่ผู้ที่เกี่ยวข้องกิจกรรม Food Innovation and Regulation Network หรือ FIRN เป็นโครงการที่เกิดขึ้นจากความร่วมมือของ FOSTAT อย.เพื่อเป็นศูนย์กลางถ่ายทอดอบรมความรู้ด้านนวัตกรรมอาหารเพื่อสุขภาพการขออนุญาตกล่าวอ้างทางสุขภาพรวมถึงสื่อสารข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับหลักเกณฑ์การขออนุญาตอาหารและเป็นศูนย์กลางเครือข่ายนักวิจัยผู้เชี่ยวชาญและผู้ประกอบการผลิตภัณฑ์ Functional Food ของประเทศไทยกิจกรรมประจำปี Annual Events นอกเหนือจากการให้บริการด้านต่างๆแล้ว FOSTAT ยังมีกิจกรรมประจำปีที่ดำเนินการมาอย่างต่อเนื่องและยาวนานอันประกอบด้วย International Conference กิจกรรมการประชุมวิชาการระดับนานาชาติที่รู้จักกันในชื่อ Food Innovation Asia Conference และ Food Ingredient Asia Conference ที่มุ่งเน้นการให้นวัตกรรมความรู้แก่ผู้เข้าร่วมสัมมนาทั้งในประเทศและต่างประเทศร่วมกับกิจกรรมการประกวดผลงานของนักศึกษาในระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร FOSTAT Nestle Quiz Bowl กิจกรรมการแข่งขันตอบปัญหาวิชาการด้านวิทยาศาสตร์เทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหาร Food Innovation Contest กิจกรรมแข่งขันการคิดค้นผลิตภัณฑ์อาหารที่มีความเป็นนวัตกรรมของนักศึกษาระดับปริญญาตรีด้านวิทยาศาสตร์การอาหารให้มีเวทีในการแสดงออกซึ่งความรู้ความสามารถทางวิชาการเพื่ พื่อเสริมสร้างความรู้และทักษะทางวิชาการ ส่งเสริมการพัฒนาบุคลากรให้อุตสาหกรรมอาหารเพื่อความยั่งยืนตลอดระยะเวลากว่า 40 ปีโฟสแตทเดินหน้าทำงานอย่างต่อเนื่องเพื่อพัฒนาบุคลากรตลอดจนวงการอุตสาหกรรมอาหารให้เติบโตอย่างต่อเนื่องและยั่งยืนเพื่อที่จะเป็นองค์กรผู้นำในการสร้างเสริมวิชาชีพและเทคโนโลยีทางอาหารเพื่อการพัฒนาอุตสาหกรรมอาหารอย่างยั่งยืน
Good morning, distinguished speakers and all delegates. I would like to bring you all to join the third seminar of Food Ingredient Asia Conference 2021. Nowadays, soybean belong the legume crop family, and we are very familiar with soybean. I know another name of soybean is golden bean. Soybean is the major oilseed produced and consumed in our world. The largest producer of soybean are the United States. Soybean plant contain proteins, fibers, and oils. So they have been used extensively for vegan food in Thailand. Today we will in depth to the innovation and new opportunity with soybean. The first step, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Anadi Niti Thamyong, the FOSAT President, to give a welcome remark. Dr. Anadi, please.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to FOSAT FI Asia 2021 webinar. This year, we come to you through digital technology instead of being face-to-face because of the COVID situation. Anyway, we try our best to bring you the up-to-date knowledge, and particularly today, it is very exciting to invite you to join us in the session on plant-based ingredients, concentrating on soy, particularly soy protein. Soy protein and soybean is very familiar to us in Asia, but it may be new to the Western world. Anyway, today we have both local experts and regional experts to present to you the role of soybean in this plant-based market as well as innovation. And we will also have a panel discussion with key experts on this issue towards the end of this morning. So I would like to welcome you all to this webinar, and I hope you will get a good takeaway message from the presentations and the discussions, and please enjoy the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Anadi. Now, Mr. Timothy Low, the Regional Director of U.S. Soybean Export Council, or USEX, Southeast Asia and Oceania, Singapore, will give an opening speech.
The U.S. Soybean Export Council engages locally in 82 countries around the globe to support industries and provide valuable training and technology transfer, working with our partners and customers to realize the health benefits and nutritional advantages of soy protein for food and beverage applications, and to meet USEC's global vision to deliver U.S. soy for a growing world. My name is Timothy Low. I'm the Regional Director for the U.S. Soybean Export Council based in Singapore. The soy food industry is dynamic and constantly adapting and growing to meet changing tastes and trends. To keep growing, companies need to stay knowledgeable and well-informed of the latest in food science and production technology for soy-based foods, learn new and innovative methods for soy applications, and be aware of the research and studies on the benefits of soy for food users and how best to communicate this across to the consumers. We are proud to participate in Food Ingredients Asia and contribute to this event. On behalf of the U.S. soy industry and the U.S. Soybean Export Council, it is our pleasure to support FI Asia and the food and beverage industry as a whole in every way that we can. Thank you, and we wish everyone good health and well-being.
Thank you, Mr. Timothy. Well, we will start the seminar on future protein food, market trends, innovation, growth opportunity with soy. The first topic is current protein food consumption and trends in plant-based food market, Asia and Thailand right now. May I invite Associate Professor Dr. Kanitha Thananuwong, the head of Department of Food Technology, Faculty of Science, Chulalongkorn University, Thailand.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chisa.
ค่ะ
For my part, I will provide overview of the data regarding the protein consumption globally and in Asia. So firstly, let's take a look at the data regarding the protein demands global in about 19 years from 2000 to 2019. So you can see that the overall consumption of protein increased in every continent, and globally the average number of increase is about 45%. But the greatest increase is in Asia, and top two countries that gain the greatest number of increase in the protein demands are China and India over 19 years during the 2000 and 2019. So if we look into the future in terms of prediction from 2019 to 2030 scenarios, we have the data based on two scenarios based on the business as usual and the lower bound numbers. So you can see in terms of Asia 5 countries, including China, Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. All of the countries gain the increase in the protein demand volume in the predicted number as the average number around 3%. But the lower bound was about 2.5%. The predicted number of highest increase will be in Vietnam, about 6.1%. And unfortunately, the lowest increase in the protein demands is actually Thailand, less than 2%. So this is the overview of the protein consumption. So you can see the good trend of increase in the protein consumption. But if we take a closer look in the Southeast Asia, in the current situation, I've got the data from 2019 that the protein consumption per capita for most of the countries in Southeast Asia is still lower than the recommended intake that provided by WHO for both women and men. Okay, so this is very much different from the scenario in North America. So they have the number of protein consumption per capita is much higher than the recommended number from WHO, except for the two interesting countries in Southeast Asia, Malaysia and Singapore. The number of protein consumption per capita is somewhat higher than the lowest bound for recommended number for WHO for women, but not for Thailand, unfortunately. And if we break down into the different section of the protein consumption, that could include the meat, seafoods, dairies, eggs, and other categories. You can see that in Northern America, consumers prefer to consume the meat products is the greatest section. But for Southeast Asia, meat is somewhat consumed in somewhat lower amount in terms of per capita consumption. But the group of protein which is gain the greatest consumption in some countries is seafood, especially the countries with the islands country like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. But for the rest, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, we still consume meat, which is the beef, pork, and poultry in the greater quantity. So you can start to see the shift of the protein consumption in terms of the type of protein that will be consumed in the near future, like in 2030. Okay, for the Asian perspective, so I think you have all heard of this. dietary shift to plant-based proteins. Okay, like I've got the data from China in 2017 that about 34% of consumer consume less of the pork, which is the major section of meat consumed in China, because of the negative health effects like high in saturated fats, high in calories, and high in cholesterol. The second trend of the shift is about the national food policies and resource constraints. So I've got the food policies from two countries, for example, like from China. They began to recommend consumer to reduce the meat consumption from 2016 campaign because of the health concerns. And in Indonesia, there's a food law since 2012 that aim for self-sufficiency of 5 strategic commodities, and most of them are plant-based. So they are like rice, maize, and soy, especially. In terms of resource constraint, we are taking a look at the wild-caught fish stocks, which is the problem because of the overfishing. So in the future, the major part of seafood consumed might be from the aquaculture farms instead of wild-caught fish. The next major trend is about the technological advancement. Because we have advanced in science and technology, so the productive systems is improved to get the higher yield, lower cost of the plant, and especially aquaculture and the plant-based source of the foods, non-traditional and alternative proteins like that. And lastly, it's about the consumer attitude. There's a consumer acceptance more and more in terms of non-traditional or alternative proteins, especially alternative meats, plant-based meat, and also lab-grown or cultured meat, also from plant-based dairy, and even edible insect protein. So if we are taking closer look in the protein demands prediction into 2030 again, and in this data, they divide the protein demand in different sections, start from plant-based, the meat, egg and dairy, aquaculture, the fisheries, and the non-traditional source of proteins. Most of the data indicate an increase in the protein consumption, except in some scenario. Okay, when you take a look at the healthy diets and food security, that caused a decrease in the protein consumption in some section like meat, eggs and dairies, and also wild catch fishery because of the resource constraint that I mentioned earlier. So, but there's still some section of the protein source that has a good future. Those are plant-based and the non-traditional source of proteins. And you can see that, and the number indicate an increase in the protein demand in every scenario, okay, including especially the health diets and in terms of food security. But for the non-traditional proteins, there might be a decrease in the food security issue because of the probably in terms of, for example, in terms of insects, so there might be some concerns of the farming, things like that. So let me clarify a little bit before I pass to the next slide. The difference between plant-based and non-traditional are the form of food consumed. Because in this chart, the data is presented in front of the whole fruits, vegetables, and nuts to be consumed. They include this form of the consumption into the plant-based. But for the products that mimic the meat products, like the alternative meats, alternative dairies like that use the protein isolate or protein concentrates from, like, especially soy they include this group of the food in the non-traditional protein. So, so you can see the promising trend in the demand. But if you take a look at the market size or market value of the plant-based diets in the global market and in Asia Pacific, like this. So you can see the figure from, I brought this figure from 2018. The global market number was about nearly $927 million. But in Australasia, the market value accounted for about 6% or $59 million comparing to the global market, and an increase in terms of CAGR in Asia Pacific was about a half comparing to the global market between these 5 years, 2018 and 2023. So what are the factors driven the growth of plant-based diets, especially in Asia Pacific? There are actually two major factors. The first one is, of course, the health and wellness. For example, I've got the data from the research in 2019 about the consumption pattern like that they the consumer in different countries try to shift the pattern of diets from regular carnivore or omnivore into another trend called flexitarian. Okay, and you can see from the chart in your right hand side here that there are three interesting countries in this chart: China, Indonesia, and Thailand. Actually, the percentage of vegetarian population is not that high in these three countries, about like 5%. But the promising trend in terms of percent of population trying to limit the meat intake that might be categorized as the flexitarian was quite high. It's about like over 20% up to like 30%. Unlike the India and Japan, these two groups of consumers are pretty much closer to each other. Okay, so in terms of flexitarianism, this might indicate or might relate to the health and wellness attitude for shifting this trend. Okay, like the survey from 2020 in Thailand, it states that about 36% of Thai consumer consume protein substitute, okay, compared to 10%, which is about the religious or cultural purposes consumers. So the flexitarian diet is to avoid eating meat and eggs and dairy products and eat more of the fruits, vegetables, and whole grains like that. And the second important factor that induce the growth of the plant-based diets is ethic and environment. Okay, for example, I've got this number from South Koreans consumer, the surveys. About a half of South Koreans agree that plant-based food are better for the environment than meat and dairy products, especially in terms of the carbon footprints. So let's take a closer look in the consumer insight in Thailand. Of course, the consumer can be divided into different sections based on the diet preference. The major group of the consumers are still carnivore and omnivore. But if you see the green color sector, which is the flexitarian, the number of the flexitarian section of the consumers increasing as the age of consumer increase. So like for the age over 95, Thai consumers tend to shift toward a plant-based diet pattern. And you can see that like 20% of consumer age over 45 are flexitarian, but they are not necessarily eliminating the animal ingredients, but they try to reduce or cut down those plant meat and dairy-based foods. And for the factor that driven the Thai consumer to shift into the plant-based foods of course, they are about the health concerns. So you can see like 91% down to 84%. They feel that consumption of plant-based diets will improve their overall physical health, digestion, overall mental well-being, and also reduce the risk of the diseases from animal-based products, including cardiovascular disease. And 83% of consumers believe that plant-based diet will help the environment as well. So the last part of my presentation will provide you the opportunities in terms of product development to give you the view that what are the plant-based products available in the market, especially in Asian countries. So we start from the traditional style of the plant-based food that can substitute the meat products like tempeh or the wheat-based meat analog in Asia or gluten-based meat in Asia. So we have that in Thailand as well, and Thai consumers are quite familiar with this kind of products, and also in Singapore. But in US or United States, they try to create a variety of products from these traditional products, like adding the new flavor into the tempeh to be the smoky maple bacon tempeh, and increase the flavor of tofu into the organic teriyaki tofu bake like that. But of course, in Asian countries, there are imported and also locally processed innovative meat alternatives to mimic the texture and flavor of the meat products in terms of burger, in terms of cured meats like sausages and ham. And even in Singapore, there are the lab-grown chicken available already. Not only meat, beef, pork, chicken that are available in terms of plant-based alternative. Seafood is another interesting sector, and we have those available in the Asian country as well, like this on your left-hand side, OMG meat are available in Thailand, and the kind of filet fish or even burger type are also available in Hong Kong. Another interesting products is the plant-based mimic tuna, also available in both Asia and USA. So you can see the example in this slide. Other than legume-based, which are popular for using as the main ingredients, especially soy protein isolate, soy protein concentrates, to get the texture of the like the burger patties to be similar to the real beef burger like that. So this is another alternative to be used as the base, which is the vegetable base. Okay, they can be broccoli, they can be mushroom, mixed vegetables, cauliflower, or even green jackfruit. Okay, so this is another alternative source of the ingredients that can be used. The next group of the products is the non-dairy beverages. Other than oat, almond, in Thailand, we still have pistachio milk, which is quite popular for the person that cannot consume milk because of the lactose intolerance, and they try to add the lactose-free in the package, because this help communicate with specific group of consumer, and fortified with some nutraceuticals like fiber. And alternative source of dairy beverages is using black soybean, okay, to enhance the antioxidant activities of the beverage products, and also fortified with vitamins and minerals as well. And this one is available in South Korea. Another one from United States, which I think which is quite interesting, is from spent barley. Okay, in terms of barley milk, fortified with proteins and calcium.
So this is another opportunity for the development. So lastly, I'd like to end with the major challenges for this plant-based market, food market. The first one, of course, is about the formulation, okay? Improving flavor and texture. Most of the ingredients which is popular to be used as the main ingredients in the plant-based products are legume-based, especially soy. But one of the disadvantages of the soy is the beanie flavor. So there are alternative ingredients available right now from oilseed, from insects, from fungi, and from microalgae. Okay, so I have some pictures of those products here. The upper one is from the texturized vegetable proteins from sunflower seeds proteins, and the lower one is from the cricket powder, and another one is from the milk mimic beverage from the microalgae extracted powder, like that. The next one is about to communicate in terms of the health benefits of the plant-based food directly to the consumers, because this is the major driven factor that caused the consumer to try the plant-based products. So this is another thing to think about to boost up the health challenge, to health benefits of the products. And the last one is about pricing. Okay, some of the plant-based products are still quite expensive than the regular meat products. So some of them can be categorized as premium products. How about shifting down to the affordable pricing? So it's a matter of formulation, it's a matter of adjusting the marketing mix, the 4P thing. So this is another thing to think about. Okay, so I think that's all for my presentation today, and thank you very much for your attention.
Get back to Food Ingredient Asia Conference with the next topic. May I invite Adjunct Professor Dr. Ong Mei Hong from National University of Singapore to give a talk on harnessing science and technology innovation, growth opportunity for soy and soy protein ingredients. Please join me welcome Adjunct Professor Dr. Ong.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank the organizer and USAC for the invitation. I'm delighted to share the topic on how can we harness science and technology innovation for the growth opportunity of soya and soya protein ingredients. I was asked to prepare the presentation for the Food Science and Technology Association of Thailand and the Indonesia Food and Beverage Association. Hence, I'll focus the presentation on soya landscape for Thailand and Indonesia. I will divide my presentation into 3 parts. Part 1 will focus on soya beverage innovation for Thailand and Indonesia. Part 2 will talk about alternative protein soya products, example, meat and yogurt products. And lastly, on how to unlock additional values from soya ingredients. Let's start by asking ourselves, why are we so interested in food protein? If we look at this data from FAO, showing the country GDP on the x-axis versus the per capita protein consumption on the y-axis, we can observe there is a relationship between GDP and the protein consumption per capita. Most ASEAN countries have lower GDP and also lower protein consumption per capita as compared to European countries, USA, and other more developed countries in Asia, example, Japan and South Korea. So as you know, protein is an essential macronutrient for growth for everyone from young to old. We need to consume sufficient protein throughout the day. We also need to consider both the quality and the quantity of proteins for our daily diet. Naturally, soya is an excellent and loyal source of food protein. The focus is not just on soya bean as a food. There are many soya products from different processing technologies. We have natto, soya oil, soya protein, emulsifiers, flour, tofu, fermented tempeh, and extruded soya product, etc. With the new genetic and processing technologies, there will be more novel soya ingredients, future food targeting at different consumer groups. These soya ingredients and plant-based fruit products have very different functional and nutritional properties, which are very critical for the food industries. I'm sorry, this is a rather ambitious slide to pack all the goodness of soya on one slide. So allow me to take you through. So soya provided the whole nutrition that we need, multiple functionalities, economic values, and sustainability, leading to a wide range of food applications for both traditional and the new plant-based food and beverage products. Soya bean is well known to be a nutritious bean, high-quality plant protein, comparable to dairy protein, as well as lactose-free, which is well suited for Asian consumers, whereby more than 95% were found to have lactose intolerance. Soya is a very versatile bean with multiple functional properties, example, high water holding capacity, emulsification, different viscosity or gelation properties, provide a unique taste, and can be customized for different end users. It is also important to note that soya is also a very sustainable crop as compared to dairy protein, being plant-based and generate lower carbon footprint and one of the leading plant-based proteins. US Soya can now issue certificates to verify the plant sustainability under the program called USA Soya Sustainability Assurance Protocol, or SSAP. Please check with your USA Soya suppliers if you are interested. So this slide shows the breakdown of the nutritional values of soya bean, especially high quality protein, fat, carbohydrate, and micronutrients, which are all essential for a healthy diet. In addition, food technologists need to know how to manage soya enzyme, especially lipooxygenase, trypsin inhibitors, to ensure the right taste and product quality. Attention must also be paid on how to select the right bean varieties, different application. Bean selection is now becoming more scientific. USAC has developed a soya-based food-grade database to assist customers in matching the varieties versus the specification and the application. Lastly, we also need to be mindful on how to communicate product on soya allergen, isoflavones, GMO beans to avoid any misinterpretation by the consumer. I will show some examples later. So here are some of the commercial ready-to-drink soya milk and what we call semi-processed or loose soya milk found in Indonesia. Another examples of longer shelf life, ambient stable, ready-to-drink soya milk with no preservatives in a convenient on-the-go PET bottle. So due to the use of heat treatment and filling technology, they are able to retain the natural goodness and the taste of soya milk and safer to drink with longer shelf life than the loose soya milk. Other examples of ready-to-drink soya beverages from Thailand using UHT aseptic filling technology provided a wide range of flavors, functional ingredients, and also pack types for convenience, ambient and longer shelf life, and without preservatives. So the taste and product quality is parity to the fresh soya milk. So soya beverages innovation has been focusing on promoting also the plant-based and multi-grain nutritional benefits. Example here like multi-grain soya milk leveraging the natural and healthy ingredients, soya, brown rice, barley, etc. And even highlighted the isoflavone contents. For the soya milk rice berry, targeted for the local consumer, fortified with 11 types of vitamins, 100% organic, and also low sugar. So in summary, when we compare the types of soya milk in Thailand and Indonesia, it was found that ready-to-drink packs contributed to 84% of total soya beverages in Thailand, whereas only 19% in Indonesia. So we can say that about 77% of soya milk beverages in Indonesia is still in the semi-processed or what we call loose form. So there's a big opportunity for Indonesia to develop RTD packaged soya beverages, either in liquid or in powder forms. So soya milk market landscape data in 2020 shows that 9 out of the top 10 countries are from Asia. The slide shows the soya beverage volume and growth rate on the y-axis versus the capital consumption of soya milk on the x-axis. He highlighted Thailand is the second highest in terms of soya milk market volume in Asia after China. However, Thailand and Indonesia, both markets have negative growth rates, which needs some attention. In terms of consumption per capita, Thailand has the highest per capita consumption of 11.6 liters versus Indonesia of only 0.4 liters of soya milk. So what does that mean? It means in Thailand, each person can, on average, consumes 11.6 liters of RTD soya milk per year. Whereas in Indonesia, each person on average consumes only 0.4 liters of RTD soya milk per person per year. So let's use the growth curve to explain the difference between Thailand and Indonesia soya milk market performance. For Thailand, soya beverage growth has reached a mature stage, and we need to create new products, new application, or even channels to create the second growth curve. To address these slower growth rates, one may have to fully understand the consumer acceptance, the competition, or even new application and channel developments. For Indonesia though, the RTD soya beverage is perhaps still in the nascent stage. So we need to develop new products and application to address some of the fundamental issues. Example, consumer awareness of packaged soya beverages, pricing as compared to the loose soya milk, technology capability for mass production of soya milk, etc. So to explain the difference between the Thailand and Indonesian soya milk consumer, let's use the pyramid of consumer values, which I extracted from Bain Consulting, to show the 4 stages of consumer values for their functional, emotional, life-changing, and social impact needs. So for example, as early as in the 1940s, soya bean is called the cow of China, and soya milk was an affordable and nutritious milk substitute as compared to animal protein to meet the functional needs. Then in 1970s, soya milk was positioned as more for fun value to compete with the growing carbonated soft drink to meet the emotional needs. Fast forward to year 2000s, due to life-changing with the new consumers' needs, new technology and application, we see a range of different flavors, functional properties, pack types, or soya milk application. So in this era now, when consumer would expect soya milk to be a healthy and also sustainable beverage. So to meet the consumer's social impact, which is at the tip of the pyramid values. With this understanding, let us use the same pyramid to explain the difference between Thailand and Indonesian soya milk consumer. It looks like for Thailand, we need to innovate soya milk to deliver the values resulted from the life-changing and social impact. For example, soya milk in sustainable packaging or sourcing, wholesome, healthy, beyond nutrition, plant-based soya milk. Whereas for Indonesia, innovation may have to focus more on delivering the functional and emotional needs, and to switch to RTD soya milk for affordable, nutritious, and longer shelf life. So an example of healthy and sustainable soya milk to align with the social impact and also the changing consumer values, using a new extraction technology, whole soya milk, including the okara, to produce wholesome soya milk with higher fiber contents from the okara itself. This will lead to zero waste manufacturing to ensure environmental sustainability. So product was produced from Taiwan and was found to have excellent flavor, a smooth and creamy mouthfeel. Another example, we need to also think beyond the traditional RTD soya milk and creating new premium applications. The examples show how one right on the popular bubble tea drinks using soya milk with chewy mochi, customization with soya foam or curd with different flavor to attract the younger consumer groups. So now I will then start the part 2 of the sharing session on alternative protein using soya products, taking example of meat as well as yogurt product. We can briefly classify the alternative protein meat into 4 categories. Yeah? Using the whole food proteins, example, using the whole mushroom or jackfruit as a source of protein. Secondly, we can also use popular extrusion technology to produce textured plant-based product, example, TVP, TSP, or mixing with other plant-based protein like pea or gluten. This is quite common and especially used for the Asian version of vegetarian meat. Thirdly, we can also use traditional or biomass fermentation technologies. For soya and fungus are used as source of protein for fermentation. Example, you have mycoprotein or corn, and also the very popular tempeh. Lastly, with the new technology using new precision fermentation to develop lab-grown cell-based or cultivated protein as a cell-based meat. So due to the multiple functionalities of soya and soya protein can be used to produce all these 4 types of alternative protein. From vegetarian meat to tempeh meat to plant-based extruded or even fermented meat or even as scaffolding for the hybrid cell-based meat. One of the common feedbacks for this new plant-based meat is lack of meat-like fibrous texture or the real bite. Therefore, the original meat eaters may find it difficult to accept this new meat. So examples here showed leveraging engineering, electrospinning technology, or even 3D printing to create alternative protein food to meet the consumer expectation and acceptance. Let's look at the opportunity of soya ingredient to be used for the alternative meat products. The inverted funnel here shows the market size of different positioning and target user for mass market, established market, emerging lifestyle, and also niche markets. It is quite obvious that most of the new alternative meat protein products are targeting at the niche or emerging lifestyle markets. Partly because of the new trend, consumer will take time to adopt the new foods, as well as the market will have to adjust to suit what the consumer wanted. Some of these products will stay and some may be dropped out. But overall, there is a clear pipeline for the alternative protein product as well as technologies. So the ultimate winner will be the one who can capture the mass market to be the dominant player. Companies like Nestle, fast food chains, USA meat companies are all investing in this space in order to capture the share of these growing markets. For Asian markets though, including Thailand and Indonesia, we are all very familiar with the traditional tempeh and vegetarian or mock meat, as shown on the left side of the slide. Traditional Asian mock meat is a rather established category, and we will need to continue to innovate to ensure the sustainability of the traditional soya food, as well as developing new soya-containing alternative protein food products, including the alternative meats, seafood, etc., so that we can capture the mass market. If so, how can Tempeh leverage this growth opportunity? So leveraging the science and technology interdisciplinary expertise, we can perhaps develop shelf-stable tempeh for ambient storage, longer shelf life, easy for travel, as well as export. As tempeh is served after some form of cooking, shelf-stable tempeh will still retain the nutritional values of the fermented food. For the innovation pipeline, we can have alternative meat tempeh, tempeh snacks, fermented beverages, tempeh yogurt or drink, RTD or powder form. Also due to the unique texture, we can use crushed tempeh to produce alternative peanut sauce like satay sauce. I think there are ample opportunities for Tempeh 2.0 globally. Or perhaps we can also modify the name to make it more attractive to certain consumer groups. Some tempeh startup is also gearing up their innovation pipeline to develop new tempeh to attract the younger consumers globally. Example for tempeh innovation, in addition to the traditional tempeh, we can also explore using black other type of soya bean or other proteins or fortified with micronutrients to enable differentiated and healthier product. Like for tofu, what about flavored tempeh with umami, mala or ginger or even tom yum or curry flavored tempeh, fortified with iron, folic acid, DHA, etc., to support any nutritional needs of the consumer, whether they are young or old. Can we also adopt the tofu packaging or flavor innovation for tempeh? So innovation can come in different packaging format, not just in recipe. So examples here show shelf-stable tofu from Morinaga, USA, carton format using different packaging technology. Or we can use tempeh for portion control for convenience pack. Another point to note is to ensure right consumer communication of traditional soya product to attract the new consumer. So packaging communication matters. So I picked this example from Australia, which show how they communicate tempeh in a Western country. If you look at this product on the shelf, you will not think this is a traditional Asian food. It is a healthy and well-suited as part of the plant-based diet. So a common example of an Asian traditional food, but positioned as a healthy product in a Western market. Next, I would like to share the use of soya for plant-based yogurts product. Before we start, we ask ourselves, what is yogurt? Is a yogurt flavored drink also yogurt? Not quite. I will explain later. So based on the Singapore Food Regulatory Standard, yogurt is a fermented milk product with cultures and bacteria with not less than 8.5% milk solid. So commercially, yogurt can be classified as set yogurt or pot, stirred yogurt, drinking, Greek or Greek style, or cultured milk, example, the Yakult and the Vitagen. The set yogurt is more of a gel texture, whereas the stirred yogurt has lower viscosity or thickness. Thus, it is sometimes called spoonable yogurt. This type of yogurt is quite popular in Asia and well accepted by the Asian consumers. No doubt, yogurt has a lot of nutritional benefits. Example, source of protein, probiotic, gut and digestive health. But one of the key concerns is the higher sugar contents, especially those with added fruit pieces or added fruit juice. So good to read the nutritional labels before you choose the type of yogurt and also practice portion control. It is also important to note that if the product is called yogurt flavored drink, they may be just a drink with yogurt flavor and there's no live culture or probiotic activities. So for yogurt innovation, typically we can divide them into 3 types based on technology and storage condition. So type 1, they are fresh yogurt or yogurt drinks or kept in tube or refrigerated environment with shorter shelf life for the life culture and probiotic activity for gut health and digestibility. The type 2 is the ambient yogurt or yogurt drink that are able to keep longer shelf life because of the additional heat treatment. Therefore, there is no life culture or probiotic activity. However, more recently, a new type of type 3, which use a new strain of bacteria, has been developed to produce cell-stable ambient yogurt or yogurt drink with life culture and probiotic activity at ambient temperature. This was developed by a company called IFF. The product was found to deliver the same level of life culture as fresh yogurt and other fermented foods with limited impact on taste and texture. It can be used for both dairy and plant-based yogurt or yogurt drink, as well as for low sugar or sugar-containing yogurt. With more R&D, we can see a lot of potential for this type C yogurt, shelf-stable ambient yogurt with life culture for the tropical countries. Non-dairy plant-based yogurt is relatively new, but there are already some product in the market. So soya-based plant-based yogurt is found to be more common in ASEAN countries compared to coconut or almond or nut-based. So example here shows soya yogurt from Revon from Thailand and the Storyfield organic soya yogurt from USA, but sold in Malaysia. Globally, Danone has also introduced a plant-based yogurt. Danone is the world dairy company, has just launched this Silk Greek Star yogurt using coconut base and with 4 flavors. They were said to be able to match the thick dairy Greek Star yogurt texture and mouthfeel. It is important to choose the right variety of soya bean for fermented yogurt products. Using higher sugar content, which is part of the carbohydrate composition, the sucrose will be broken down during the fermentation process. This higher inherent sucrose content in the bean will avoid the need to add more sugar for ingredient decoration. As mentioned, you can use the USAC food grade soya database to identify the right variety and specification for the type of soya bean for fermented yogurt product. As mentioned before, one of the common issues for yogurt, especially fruit yogurt, is very high sugar content in the final product. Food scientists should also leverage reduced sugar technology to develop healthier and lower sugar yogurt products. The sugar can be derived from the added sugar and or the added dry fruit or fruit juices. A startup in Thailand has used the fermentation technology to convert the sugars in the fruit juice to produce less or 99% sugar-free fruit juices. This style of reduced sugar technology has a lot of potential for all the reduced or sugar-free fermented yogurt and beverages. Okay, this is the last part of my presentation. I will be focusing on how can we unlock the additional values from soya ingredient. Soya is often being seen as a traditional commodity, and even soya flour or protein may not capture the similar values as other dairy or other plant-based protein, example, almond or oats. So soya is a very versatile bean which can generate so many types of ingredients for different users and applications. So I attempted to classify them into 4 categories. The type 1 will be soya primary traditional raw material, the bean, the organic bean, the tofu, the soya sauce, the tempeh. The second one will be soya derivatives, the processed flour protein, example, the isolate or concentrate. The third one will be soya premixed ingredient, blend or premix for specific application with or without addition of other food ingredient for baking or meat processing or soya milk manufacturing. Lastly, so-called the soya protein as alternative protein food. So to innovate soya milk, one example here is to add more soya protein to enrich the regular soya milk. As extraction has a maximum level of protein in the soya base, one of the ways is to add soya isolate or concentrate to produce higher protein nutritional beverages, especially for the elderly or for those who are deficient of protein. Slide here shows the processing condition of regular and the higher protein content soya beverages. Soya ingredients can also be used to develop new healthier plant-based protein snacks. Example, Soy Joy, which has been in the market for a while, soya granola bar, the Okara soya pulp to increase the fiber contents. An example of soya protein snack is the crispy and crunchy tempeh chips, which may be healthier than the conventional protein chips. Other examples are like crispy soya skin or chips as protein snack. The soya skin snack could be a byproduct from the soya manufacturing. The creativity comes with the flavor development to capture the market trends. Example, have a salted egg flavor or mala flavors, etc. If we compare the current and the new protein snacks, the goal is to ensure soya snacks can occupy the mass market share, like the Lay's, the Pringles, and the Calbee. It looks like soya has started to enter the protein plant-based snack category. They may be still in the niche and emerging positioning, but the potential is very high in view of the healthy snack with protein and fiber contents. Some of these could be derived from the production waste valorization. Example, the soya skin, the tempeh leftover, the crisps, which help to support the zero waste and ensure food sustainability. Other than protein snacks, traditionally, soya protein is widely used in non-dairy milk powder for infant and adults for those who have lactose intolerance. With the growing trend in plant-based or vegan consumer, soya protein is also well accepted by these new target groups. More recently, soya protein is added to the multi-grains protein powder, higher in protein, dietary fiber, and calcium contents. They are found in different pack types for sharing or on the go. They are lactose-free, gluten-free, cholesterol-free, and vegetarian-friendly. Soya protein can also be formulated for protein nutrition drink, flavored and or fortified protein powder as ready to drink or ready to mix nutrition drink. They are very high value products. Traditionally, this product is targeted at the sports enthusiasts or professional, but increasingly, people are looking for protein supplement by taking protein beverages. There are also soya protein drink and pure soya protein powder. Soya ingredients has also been used to develop egg replacer. Eggs are widely used in most of the dishes and baked goods. So the potential growth for the eggless protein is very high. Not only provide the protein values, due to the soya emulsification and water binding capacity, soya is well suited as an egg replacer. If we compare the opportunity to trade up soya ingredient for tonic or protein nutrition beverages, we have mass market soya milk or soya milk powder. There's perhaps still a lack of high value soya nutritious drink or protein drink for the mass market. It was observed that parents who are vegan or on plant-based diet will influence the children's diet, including the infant formula. With the growth of the plant-based trend, soya innovations should include mass market nutritious drink in powder or liquid forms. The last soya ingredient I like to share is Okara, which is often the elephant in the room for all the food manufacturer or soya food manufacturer. Traditionally, this has been disposed of or to give away as animal feeds. Some have successfully turned Okara into nutritious protein feed for black soldier fly or as biodegradable hydrogel for agri-farming. There are some industry scale up for Okara product, grit or biscuit or granola bar with the added soya pulps or Okara. The question is, can we convert soya waste into high value food ingredients or product to achieve a circular economy for soya industry. Soya waste valorization and technology have attracted a lot of R&D in university researchers as well as startups. For example, to convert soya okara to nutritious drink and or as a media for cultured meat. The waste valorization is aligned with the World Authority as well as individual country to reduce the food waste, protect environment and ensure food security. So soya companies need to accelerate the commercialization of okara ingredient to achieve the circular economy. This is the end of my presentation and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Adjunct Professor Dr. Ong Mui Hong, for your presentation. We can see your view of food science and technology involve the application of a variety of science disciplines, from raw materials all the way to finished products. We need to keep highest quality of food, extend shelf life, maintain food sensory, decrease waste residue, and make it more value by innovation. I hope we can learn more from you. Thank you so much again. Well, we will discuss all issues that mentioned in this morning with 3 leaders of food industry and academia. I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Anadi Niti Thamyong, the FOSTET President, Adjunct Professor Dr. Ong Mui Hong from National University of Singapore, and Dr. Bandit Rueang Trakoon, the former Executive Vice President of National Food Institute Thailand, to join this session. Please welcome all distinguished panelists.
Thank you very much, Kunchisa. For this panel discussion, I think what we are going to do is I have prepared some discussion points for our panelists, as well as we will entertain any questions regarding the 2 presentations that have been shown earlier this morning. First of all, since Dr. Ong already have her presentation this morning, I would like to first invite Dr. Bandit to share some of his views, since he has extensively worked with various food industries in Thailand, particularly in the issue of plant-based product trends that we are seeing at the moment. Do you think this trend, the plant-based food trend, is here to stay? Dr. Bandit, please.
Hi everyone. Thank you for FOSTET and the US SEC for allowing me to have some discussion on this topic. I think that the question whether or not the plant-based trend is going to here to stay, I think the most important question is depend on the motivation, the motive that you would like to, why you would like to eat plant-based. Let me summarize something about the plant-based a little bit, that if you're talking about vegan or vegetarian, normally is the person in the East that normally do not eat meat, poultry, fish, egg, and dairy. And vegetarian, they include egg and dairy in their meal. For plant-based, normally, as you can see from previous 2 professors, that he said that they normally not in, they still eat meat, partially poultry and seafood include. To ask whether or not it's going to be a trend to stay or not, let's look at the East. We eat because of the religious belief. We eat because that we would like to save animal life. And we have some belief that vegetarian diet is healthier, prevent heart disease, and slow aging, and also health cancer prevention. Normally, some division of Buddhists have been eating the vegetarian for several thousand years ago. However, if you look at the motivation from the East, is also just starting in the past 10 years. Now you look at the customer to see whether or not it's trend to stay or not. It depends on the customer need, I believe. If you look in the East, India, China, Indonesia, Japan, the biggest population of the people have been vegetarian. 10% of the total population or the world population is vegetarian. And if you look at the East, if you look at the West, like US and Europe, you can see that the customer need, compare the size, is kind of comparable to the East. If you look that we already been don't eat meat for 4,000 years ago, compared to 10 years in the East. If you look in terms of the money-wise, I think the market in India and market in China is very interesting in terms of US dollar spending on the vegetarian food, and also on the West in terms of the money involved is less than the East. For Thai, I think that Ministry of Industry put up some of the issue to review whether or not what is the future of the plant-based meat in Thailand. They estimate that Ministry of Industry estimate that around 1/4 of the Thai people will be vegetarian, which I think that this figure may be a little bit higher than I expect. They thought that 17 to 18 million people of Thai will be eating vegetarian, which is very interesting. To answer the Dr. Anadi question, I think that it depends whether or not your motive for eating is and the market size will be more willing to spend. I know that the East have been very strong in eating non-meat product for several thousands of years.
Thank you, Dr. Bandit. And Dr. may I invite you to add some of your opinion?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Anadi. I think Dr. Kandita has given a very good overview of the future outlook for this particular trend. I do agree very much with Dr. Bandit as well. Just to add on one point, I think the trend has created a lot of interest, not just from consumer, but also from producer and also from investor, big and small. And that resulted with a lot of innovative product and creative products. And that itself actually helped to sort of challenge the thought of the both existing as well as the new consumer. So I think for Asian in particular, one key point also highlighted in Kandita is pricing. So if you don't have the right pricing, you will not see the repeat purchase. When there's no repeat purchase, your market volume will not be there. So whether they are going to stay or they are going to be sustainable, it very much depends on, of course, the quality, the taste and the texture, the nutrition. I think in my mind, for Asian market, because we have so many choices to choose, I think the pricing will be quite important and one of the factor critical to determine whether they will be dropping from the market or they will survive. Ultimately, some will survive, some will drop. I think that's life. Thank you.
Let me add something to Dr. Ong on this one. I think look at the motive from the West, why they would like to eat plant-based. I think that they know that already that cultivation of mass of production of the cow have been destruction of the environment. They have some health concern whether or not they eat protein, less fat, have the fiber. I think that their motive would like to use less resource and save animal life. I think it's very interesting. Whether or not this motive is enough to be here to stay, it depends on the thing that they would like to do. But for the East, normally we eat less meat because we already been know from 1,000 years ago that we don't want to get another animal life is the reason that we would like to do. One more thing that I would like to add on the pricing of the and also not only the pricing but also on the form that you're going to present this product into the customer. Let's look at the plant-based meats. Normally, plant-based meat in Thailand have been either in the food services, fast food chain, and also they sell it in refrigerated market. And for Thai and the East, normally they're not familiarized ourselves with the frozen product. We familiarize ourselves with chilled food, something that please remember that this plant-based is going to be replacing meat. If the form that you're presenting to the customer is very hard to get, it's going to be limited the growth of the product itself. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's a very interesting comments from both of the panelists. I think what we are seeing is the transition of the market as well. Because of the changing of the generation of consumers, that maybe the younger generations are more conscious on the environment and the social issue, as we are looking at the growing market of this segment of consumers, as well as the way we shop for food is changing as well. So this is going to be a very exciting time and very interesting time for the industry as well to adapt and also adjust to meet all these demands in the market. Thank you very much. So next, before we move to the second point of the discussion, there's a question. Maybe Dr. Ong, you can help with this one. This question from the audience. Could you compare nutritional value between soy and pea? Can pea become a new soy? Since you know that pea protein is a new competitor in the plant-based market, when you look at what has been the soy, yeah.
Certainly, currently, based on the result, pea is definitely the most likelihood to be able to capture some of the share that the soya used to do. So in terms of functionality, before we talk about nutritional property, now functionality, pea can be used for all the categories that currently soya protein can do. Meat substitute, baking, dietary supplement, beverages, etc. And the pea's growth rate also very high. It's almost 12.7% CAGR compared to soya, about 6%. But they are small and they are relatively kilogram per kilogram more expensive because of the availability and also the nature of the extraction. So there is a competition there, and there are a lot of companies who shy away from soya because of the allergen issue will actually choose peas. From their functionality, they are quite similar. From more for the nutritional property, if you're talking about protein, I think we all know protein is soya is the only protein, plant-based protein that can match or comparable to the dairy protein quality. Pea is still not exactly comparable, but slightly lower. So it's not as good as. In terms of concentration as well, pea also has a limitation. It's quite difficult. Food scientists will know it's quite difficult to handle pea in your formulation. And typically, people will mix peas and soya and something else if they allow soya. So that is workable in terms of functional property. So you cannot just look at nutritional, but you also need to look at how easy to use. Whether pea will be the next soya, it won't be totally take over, but I think everybody is hoping the whole pie will be bigger. So everybody will have a share. Soya will grow, pea will grow, and then, but the soya will definitely still the leading plant-based protein from the reason which I explained in my presentation. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you. I think well said. Yeah. Dr. Pandit, you would like to add something on this point to pea and soy? You have any comments?
I think if you look at the current plant-based meat, normally texture soy protein have been used to be a texture, to be the nice chew of the product. It's normally have been used that way. But if you look at the ingredient from the East, when they do the imitation plant-based meat, they use soy protein concentrate, they use pea protein, they use mushroom, they use rice protein, which the application have been known for several hundred years of doing this kind of thing. So there is I think that there should be some technology exchange between the knowledge of the East and West in terms of the making this kind of product in the market. I have some review of the plant-based meats in Thailand, and there is some company from Taiwan that is Taiwanese. The product that is really interesting, but I will keep in the next section.
Yeah, I think that is very interesting. But anyway, I think in the long term, if plant-based trend is going to be here to stay, we are not looking at only the taste, the texture, or the sensory quality of the product or the food. We will have to look at protein quality as well, as Dr. Ong mentioned, because if plant protein will become the mainstay or the main source of protein for humans, then the quality will become a paramount issue, because we need all the essential amino acids, from the protein. And right now, like Dr. Ong mentioned, soy protein, in terms of quality, is the only plant protein that can match animal protein, particularly the reference protein like milk or dairy protein. So it will be interesting to see, and I agree that we may see a lot more blending. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah,
okay.
Dr. Anadi, maybe I just add one point. Currently, there is also a lot of comments about the long ingredients list for some of the plant-based meat, or the so-called the Western plant-based meat. So one of the growing trend for the consumer is clean labels, and people are looking for nutrition is also key, health is key. So people want to see less ingredients and more familiar ingredients. So that's the part that food scientists and things like that need to also focus to ensure that it's not just getting the product, it's also how you get the product. And consumers are now more discerning, especially the young one. They know ingredient, the literacy quite well. So that part is also important to take that into consideration when we launch a product, whether it's for the East or the Western type of the plant-based food. Thank you.
Now let's move to the second point of our discussion. Since we are talking about this plant-based product, and market trend, how do you see the role of soy in this trend? And may I invite Dr. Bandit to contribute to this comment first?
Normally, let me share some. Share some picture to you. I think that the booming of the plant-based meat, especially in US and in the Europe, have been coming from the company that is rising very fast. The company is called Impossible Food and Beyond Meat. I think that the way they use soy is very interesting, and the ingredient in there is also interesting, the way they approach things. And I think that a lot of Thai SME have been using this kind of technique to produce the product. And the soy have been definitely is an ingredient, the important ingredient in doing so. As I told earlier, the texture soy protein have been used in Impossible Meat. For example, they use for texture for the nice chew of the meat product. They also use the potato proteins, nutrients, and flavor cooking. Flavor upon cooking act as the binder. So this is a potato protein. The next one is very interesting ingredient they call heme. and the heme have been coming from the fermentation. They provide a flavor of meat to their Impossible Burger. A lot of company do not use this technology, but they use beetroot, the color from beetroot. The mixing of each ingredient into the mixer, and then they add fat and methyl cellulose to bind. This is the fat mixing, and have been forming to their Impossible Burger. Currently, have been this trend in Thailand to producing this kind of imitation meat in the market. I will review the product that they have in Thailand for the audience in the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ong. I know you have already mentioned some of these in your lecture, but you have more comments to add.
I guess just to summarize, highlight also, I think soya will still remain as a very critical plant-based ingredient or protein source. The invitation is we need to make sure existing soya product remain and also create new soya product and technology, either individual protein or in combination with other protein. For example, the even cell-based meat is very difficult to make 100% cell-based meat. So currently soya is the scaffolding, the backbone of the, they call the cell-based meat. And that is important. The second question is there are new technology coming up in order to make sure that soya remain to be the leader. So we need to catch up with this soya new technology. Whether you borrow or leverage from other technology or you create soya, like soya waste valorization is a very big research topic now and close to commercialization. And then the soya extraction or new packaging technology, reduced sugar technology is quite mature. Soya fermentation like tempeh is quite mature. If you don't use tempeh, you just put fermented soya meat, it's the same thing. But there are some also, in order to make sure soya remain as a leader, there are some negative thing about soya, which is being mistaken or misled, that we need to educate consumer as well as the user. Outdoor soya will remain a key role because of the availability and the chemistry or functional property, and also affordability and kind of like familiarity to use it. So my final solution is that it's still going to be a key role, but there are other competitors coming out, but you see them as a competitor or see them as a complement to the soya product. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's what you both of you have said leads to another question from the audience, which I am sorry that maybe I do not totally understand what the question is driving at, but anyway, the question says, how can we get the innovation technology for soy food? Dr. Ong, you care to start with this? How can we get the innovation?
If I understand correctly, is to talk about how do we innovate new soya product. Okay, so if you are talking about soya beverages or soya drink or milk, that technology is fairly matured, but new technology coming in to add values, like the wholesome technology, the extraction. Also now a lot of talk about fermentation. Soya milk, fermented soya milk is almost like your yogurt drink. They are also talking about new technology in soya, how to, not just the protein, people are interested in the peptide. I think Thai consumer knows very well, like Brand's Essence of Chicken, which is they sell based on the peptide from the chicken when you cook and extract for brain health and aging population and for general health. People will obviously look for plant-based, and I think soya has one of the, it's been highlighted as one of the opportunity, especially some of them derived from the fermentation or even like tempeh technology. So there are a lot of technology. I'm not quite sure what particular area you are talking about. So if I may suggest, you can actually give us your contact to USEC, and USEC will be the champion to facilitate that. And USEC do a bit of promotion here. USEC also organizing training courses for those who want to learn more about new soya technology and also very fundamental. I think Dr. Anandi is fairly aware we are part of the team. But I think that is my answer because I wasn't quite clear of the question. Hopefully that helped me to explain a bit. Thank you.
Maybe Dr. Benfit, you can add, and maybe you can also talk about the what you think of the future, looking into the future of this soy food market.
Okay. Before I go to some review of the market trend in the soy food market, let me add to Dr. Ong on the innovation soy product. I think that not only that we saw a lot of technology from the excellent two speakers that we saw. I think it is not only the faculty or university have been involved in this kind of the innovation. Yes, definitely there is. However, if you actually work in the food industry, it's not only the food company, not only the university, it's also on the government also. For example, I have been doing some work for the yogurt from plant-based. We did not use soy at that time. We used the corn milk as the base of the yogurt. This one is patented by the company that I work with. I'm involved in this project. However, I have to go through a head age to explain of the Thai FDA what it is, what it look like, why we label it yogurt, is there any life culture in there? So many questions. Do you still call it yogurt? This is I think the education for everyone. For example, if the government or any agency would like to promote something like a plant-based meat or plant-based food, not only the first thing we have to think is a customer demand. Is there any customer need, customer driven to get the product or not? And also, we definitely the company have to be react to the customer need. Yes, but not only that, but you can see that even though we put a lot of product into the market, but the government do not recognize it, the government agency FDA do not recognize it, and this is impede the innovation. I think that there should be something like a innovation committee to help to promote things. It's going to be bring the new kind of the innovation product into the market easier, because if you have to go through a lot to register your product, it's going to be really difficult. I prepare some review of the plant-based meat in Thailand. I may run through to let you see that what the trend in the Thai market, actual Thai market is. Right now, there is 9 products that is a plant-based meat in Thailand. As you can see, that more meat, future meat, let plant meat, omni meat, beyond meat, meat avatar, and fries. Currently, as you can see, that there is 3 companies coming from abroad. This is really good strategy because we don't know whether or not what is the market response yet. So beyond meat is from US, omni meat is from Taiwan, and fry, I believe, is from the South Africa, and the rest is the local made one. Very interesting is also on the meat avatar, which they not produce only the plant-based meat. They also do the pork cracking product, which is very interesting. Not only that, they also import some of the sausage to sell in Thailand. For the Beyond Meat, the company is located in US. It's very famous company, compete with the Impossible Meat. Impossible Meat. Currently, they have the product Beyond Burger on sale in Thailand frozen shelf. They also have the sausage breakfast sausage. They also have the sausage. I think if you look at in the trend of the people in the West they consume chicken tender. So the chicken tender made from the plant-based is going to be a trend in the future. But if you look at the Thai SME, this company is very good. Let's plant meat, taste-wise and everything they make to think that the plant-based meat is the beef. So they have the burger made to imitation beef, ground beef, and also the katsu, which is the breaded product. This is currently made into the local dish. To answer whether or not it's going to be here to stay, it depends on the way the people have been consuming it. For example, Thai people, some is not familiar ourselves with the beef. We normally consume pork, ground pork. So anything that is the imitation of beef is a little bit different approach. So we have to see whether or not what is going to be going to be here to stay in Thailand or not. As you can see that they make into the local product. The way that you can make the product that is adapting to the local dish, going to make the company that is last in Thailand. This is currently their product that they're going to do in Thailand. As you can see that they have the beef style, the mint style, chicken breast style, they have the dim sum, ready meal, retort food available soon. But currently I can only get two in the market. Another company that is very interesting is the Meat Avatar. Normally their approach have been imitation of pork, ground pork, which they know that Thai people get more used to the pork meat than beef. Also, they have something like crispy pork avatar, which they use the technology from the East when they use the mushroom to create the meat fiber. This is very interesting product because they actually make a pretty good product. Pork cracking when fries. I think that their product, whether or not it's going to be survive in the Thai market, have to see. As you can see that plant-based meat definitely in terms of the composition is much more advantage than the real thing. In terms of calorie, in terms of fat, is what it looks like when you make it into the dish. Another company that is very interesting, it comes from the East, is the import product coming from Taiwan. Normally, this company have been very good in terms of the making vegetarian mock meat, as Professor Ong used show the slide before. They not only have the ground meat, they have the luncheon meat, they have meat strip, they have the sarpao, they have the fillet, they have even tuna, omni tuna in can, pan-based and ocean a fish burger. As you can see that their product definitely the Thai there is only one product in Thai market at this moment is the Omni meat. This one doesn't have yet, but definitely they're gonna have a lot of product coming to Thailand. I think to answer you whether or not it's gonna be here to stay or not, it depends on whether or not we can use their product in our meal. As you can see that their product is, the way they use product is very interesting. For example, they have the shiitake mushroom, they have soy, they have pea, they use the protein from corn, they use protein from rice, which is very interesting because their technology combined with the, this is East technology. If you can combine this thing with the knowledge from the West, it's going to be create the product that is lasting in the Asian market. This is the founder of the OmniMeat. As you can see that we, as the vegetarian, we try to abstain or craving animal meat. That's why the intention of the making of the product, the purpose is different. But if you look at the Impossible hamburger or Beyond Meat, you can see that they use heme to make a blood. They still would like us to craving for meat. So the approach of eating is different. So I think that combined approach going to be good in terms of to create the vegetarian product for the consumer.
Thank you very much. I think Dr. Bandit has shown us that there's a lot to do for the future, in terms of the developing or creating exciting products for this market, as well as how do we adapt all this product into the local ways of eating, like our local recipes and all. I don't see any more questions, and I think our time is almost up. So Dr. Ong, you would like to add something, a few words before we close this discussion?
Thank you, Dr. Pandit, to show all the examples. So I guess come back to our original question. With all this new plant-based product, high protein, hopefully we will see ASEAN countries, including Thailand, we achieve our protein per capita consumption as good as other European countries. And as we all know how important protein is, and hopefully we want to see soya as one of the vehicles to increase the protein consumption for our next generation as well as the elderly people. Thank you.
Thank you. I think
Thank
that
you very much.
Thailand is not the country that consumes less protein. Normally, we producing it for the rest of the world.
We must eat our.
Yes.
We not consume ourselves. We just sowing it.
Yes. Okay. We can be both consumers as well as producers for the world. Okay.
Right.
So since time is up, I think I would like to thank both panelists who are here with us this morning. And last but not least, I would like to also thank U.S. Soy Export Council and also Informa, the organizer of Food Ingredient Asia, for supporting this webinar. Thank you very much, both of you. And I would like to return the microphone to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your opinion has been very insightful and fun. On behalf of the organizer, I would like to thank you all guest speaker and participants for attending this seminar today. We will continue the fourth day of the seminar tomorrow with plant-based food innovation with U.S. food ingredients. I also like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to visit Food Ingredient Asia virtual exhibition from now to September 22. This is the new experience to walk through the exhibition on your finger. And don't miss to do our evaluation by click the link below. You'll get the link to download the seminar presentation after finish the survey. Thank you and see you.
A reliable supply chain has always been critical, but during these times, it's more important than ever. As they do every year, our nation's growers are moving forward with planting, farming families, soy and grain handlers and exporters, food processors and manufacturers, and the entire value chain across the United States are working to ensure a safe and dependable supply of food for communities around the world. And we will do our part. Our worldwide team continues to work diligently as they respond and adapt to this situation. We're interacting with partners and other industry professionals all over the world to ensure that those operations have access to the products and support needed. And we continue our work of connecting U.S. exporters and buyers of U.S. soy. We understand how vital it is to supply our growing world with feed, food, and resources. And we remain committed to providing the global market with a stable supply of high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy. And at USEC, we're honored to play a role in helping to maintain industry continuity. For now and for the future, U.S. soy is open for business. A reliable supply chain has always been critical. But during these times, it's more important than ever. As they do every year, our nation's growers are moving forward with planting. Farming families, soy and grain handlers and exporters, food processors and manufacturers, and the entire value chain across the United States are working to ensure a safe and dependable supply of food for communities around the world. And we will do our part. Our worldwide team continues to work diligently as they respond and adapt to this situation. We're interacting with partners and other industry professionals all over the world to ensure that those operations have access to the products and support needed. And we continue our work of connecting U.S. exporters and buyers of U.S. soy. We understand how vital it is to supply our growing world with feed, food, and resources. And we remain committed to providing the global market with a stable supply of high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy. And at USEC, we're honored to play a role in helping to maintain industry continuity. For now and for the future, U.S. soy is open for business.